So thank you very much for joining us. My name is Deepshikha. I am the managing partner with SpeakIn. We are the partners with ASDC in the current endeavor, and super delighted to be here together with such an esteemed panel along with the audiences. So as more and more people join us, let me just start by a quick introduction of the panel. And then I'll hand it over to the man who made this entire exercise possible, whose vision kind of brought us together. So may I start by introducing Rajiv Gupta ji. I know you told me not to use the G, but I can't help it. I will try over a period of time. But with 3 decades of experience, Rajiv ji, you bring on board, you're the Vice President at Marketing and Sales at Honda Cars. This is your 2nd stint at Honda. And you've been part of the initial team responsible for bringing Honda to India in the year 1996. You are also a very unique panelist today in that you bring a very unique combination of automotive as well as education as well as entrepreneurial abilities. You are a BITS Pilani graduate, an FMS graduate, and most recently an alum of the Harvard Business School. A very warm welcome, Rajiv ji. Next, I think as you know, a lot of our friends from the leader fraternity would also join, and as Nikunj ji and has always said that, you know, bringing industries together and learning from other sectors is very, very critical to the growth of the automotive value chain, which is where we have Sreedhar Prasad with us. Thank you very much, Sreedhar, for joining us today. You are an internet business thought leader. You were a partner with KPMG India, heading their consumer markets and internet business advisory. Continued to contribute extensively in the digital and e-commerce space, helping startups, Indian promoters, small and medium businesses with their strategies, professionalizing, scaling up, and particularly in building a robust digital business. A very warm welcome. Naveen, Mr. Naveen Chauhan currently heads the sales and after sales at MotoCorp. You have over 25 years of experience in the automobile industry. You previously helped multiple organizations in leadership roles like Escorts, Maruti Suzuki, Tata Motors, and have worked extensively in designing, planning, sales, after sales, and the spare parts functions. A very warm welcome, Naveen ji.
Thank you, Deepshikha.
We also need, now we're all talking about skills, so there we have Vikrant Oberoi. Vikrant is a long-standing partner, not just to the ASDC, but also to the entire skilling fraternity. He works very closely with NSDC and the other skilling organizations. He's the founder and director of the Livelihood and Social Entrepreneurship Foundation. He's sought by leading institutions, corporates, state governments for his consultancy on structuring and implementation of livelihood and education-related projects, not just in India, but the entire subcontinent. A very warm welcome, Vikrant ji, and we look forward to a lot of information on the skilling side from you. Last but not the least, the man who brought us together, Mr. Nikunj Sanghi. I think I've said that earlier in some of the other conversations as well. It is often said that the axis of the Indian automotive industry is where Mr. Nikunj Sanghi stands. So, and he's the chairman of ASDC. And his thought leadership spans across OEMs, dealerships, and confidence alike. He's also been an active contributor to the global forums and will today open this conversation by giving us an insight of about what we are doing, why we are together, and why should dealerships go ahead and be a part of the digital online sales masterclass. Very warm welcome, everyone. Mr. Sanghi, over to you.
Thank you, Deepshikha, and thank you for this wonderful introduction, which was definitely not deserved by me, and specifically with such an august panel that I have with me. So let me first thank my entire panel to have agreed to come today together on a very, very short notice. I extremely value your presence here, and I'm sure you'll be able to guide a lot of dealerships on what is coming into the digital space. Now, why we did this was that while I think the dealerships and specifically automotive, I think started going digital almost a decade back, and it is gathering pace year on year. But what has this COVID done? COVID has suddenly changed the entire game, and it suddenly appears that we will have more digital than physical relationships with customers. And it is extremely important that dealerships particularly are as aggressive and as prepared about getting active in the digital space as OEMs are. Till very recently, we were totally dependent on anything which was to do with digital on our OEMs. It was their baby, their doing, and dealerships had nothing to do with. We will do what the manufacturers tell us. We were 100% dependent on them. I think those things have changed. I think dealerships will need to be as active, if probably not more active than OEMs on the digital platform, which also means that the entire dealership team, and this I'm saying for sales, after sales, even back office, I think they'll need to be extremely efficient in use of digital tools, because most of the time the customers would be digitally connecting with these people and not physically. And unless you are very good at engaging your customers, your prospects, both your existing customers and your prospects digitally, there is no way you will be able to do well in your business. We have got into a new world, and I think it all happened overnight. Till about 15th March, it was hunky-dory. And suddenly when we wake up, we realize that unless we are all digitally very active, we would have probably lost a lot of our customer, not only prospects, but even our existing customer database. Customers are now not comfortable physically coming to showrooms. Customers engage with dealerships totally digitally. And I think only the last few steps. So I'm told that the entire process of the sales process is about 28 steps, and almost 23 are completed digitally. There are only 4 or 5 steps which still happen physically. And as I understand that very soon, even the last 5 steps, another 3 will be added to the digital platform. So it is important that your entire team gets proficient in use of digital tools, know exactly what they need to do. And believe me, just coming on Facebook, just being there on Google or Instagram is not being digital at all. People should know what to post, what is digital etiquette, how can they post which will be acceptable by all sides. So I think a lot of learning is required to be done before you can become physically active, and therefore this initiative. So ASDC, I think, has pioneered into upskilling and reskilling of manpower across automotive value chain and specifically dealerships. I think during the COVID period, we launched 4 courses and which have been extremely well received. It started with dealership sales executive, then it went up to service technicians, then telecallers. So, and each one of them the response was much better than what we thought it was. We have, I think, 12,000 plus registrations and 4,000 plus people who have already got certified and are continuing to be active on this course. And I think it was this response which encouraged us that when it comes to the economy opening up, it was important that we enable the entire dealer sales force in making them first aware of, sensitize them about what is important in digital, and 2, get some of the best people in the industry to come and guide them. And I think the panel today has also been brought together just to do that, because each one of them is a leader in their own field. Each one of them is a thought leader, and each one of them knows exactly what a dealership requires when it comes to digital intervention. So thank you for being there. And I'm sure this entire course, that the masterclass which SpeakIn has put together, which is called the Digital Masterclass for Dealerships, will be a huge success, will be taken up by dealerships, and majority of the manpower in dealerships will come on to this course and be digitally active by the time this course finishes. I welcome feedback on this course, even not after finishing during the course, so that wherever we need to tweak our program, wherever we need to change our program, wherever we need to add or subtract, we will do that. We are flexible, we are listening, and we will do everything to make this a huge value to the dealerships, to the entire automotive industry, and specifically automotive retail. Thank you, Deepshikha, for having done this, and over to you.
Thank you very much, sir. So just before we move to the actual discussion, I'll just take a moment in sharing with you the contours of the program. We are talking about a 10-hour module, which will be. So I'm also taking a little bit of space from Arindam here, and I wish he was kind of there to kind of share that together with us. And this happened due to what Raman San started envisaged in terms of the life cycle. So what we've done is we've mapped the courses, the 10 courses, alongside the customer value chain or the customer life cycle as it happens in terms of the purchase as well as the service. So we start with, and across the board, you see contours of social media marketing, search engine optimization, display advertisement, branding, content, etc. This is technical, and therefore another caveat that we would want to put out is that this would require, and I would have Mr. Sanghi perhaps talk a little more about it later in the conversation. But we would be looking at building digital competence within the dealership, which can add and aid the existing brick and mortar on-ground sales that you have. The 10 sales or the 10 modules are defined as follows. Some of you might find it very, very or somewhat technical. When I saw it first, I was a bit unnerved, but that's the way to look forward to actually attending one. I think the ASDC team would come back to each one of the leader principals and the cohorts in terms of the contours of the program and how you can sign up. We're all set. 14th July is the start of the program. It's segregated or spread over 3 weeks. We'll also be bringing in industry experts to come in and align with the theoretical part of the entire module. That's roughly about it. It'll be delivered online. We are looking at an 11:50, 1:30 kind of an exercise for every single module. Nikunj sir, do you want to add something to that?
So I think you've conceptualized it very well, and all that I want to tell you is that this course, the masterclass that we are having, is not the end of what we will do in terms of enabling you to use digital tools. We'll be following it up with a lot of other courses because we want to make sure that by the time all the courses get over, the majority of the dealership team is digitally literate, digitally proficient in what they need to do. We are going to get a lot of support from our OEMs because the OEMs are keener than us that their teams who are the face of the dealerships, face of the brands, they are the ones who get not only digitally efficient, but also have all the entire digital etiquette which is required to engage with the customer and present the best face of their brands when it comes to interacting with their customers. So I think that's about all. And over to you, Deepshikha, once again.
Thank you so much, sir. So this is where I stop sharing. I invite now the panelists. May I start with Rajiv ji? We'll go ahead and request you to share your opening thoughts in terms of why you believe a program like this is needed today, and what should be the contours and what can be the takeaways. Rajiv, over to you. Let's start.
Thank you, Deepshikha ji and Nikunj ji, and for calling me for this panel. So first and foremost, let's go back before COVID era. What we all have been experiencing as marketeers, is that the walk-ins in the showrooms have been coming down at a very, very rapid pace, and all of us are very keen to get more walk-ins because they are the best source for conversion. But the reality had already hit us and has been with us in the pre-COVID era that walk-ins are coming down dramatically. And why are they coming down? Because earlier when the customer was searching and zeroing in on a brand or a model, his primary source of information gathering was the physical dealership, where he would go and talk and try to get all the information. Now that has changed, and the primary contact which the customer makes is with the online medium. And why does he do that? A, because he can get a comparative, he can get a third-party view, he can get customer opinions. So he says, look, I'm going to get an unbiased way, and I'm going to consume the information that I want to consume the way I want to consume. So that's been happening in the pre-COVID era. But what has happened in the last 3 months is like something has hit us like a hurricane. Something which was happening at a rapid pace the word rapid has become very small in front of what has happened and what is happening. Because today the customer says, well, I am willing to go to the showroom or the workshop where it is inevitable, where nothing else is possible. So when you are in that kind of a paradigm that it's only a very, very essential kind of a transaction for which somebody wants to come to the showroom or the workshop, the whole scale, I don't have a, good word to say, but it's like, it's really, really, very big that everything is moving at a very rapid pace or a, huge kind of a transition to the online. Now, what does that do to the dealership? Two things. One is earlier you could tell the customer, look, this is my car. These are the advantages. These are the features. Let me take you through a 5-step demo. This is what it has and this is what it doesn't have. Now, today customer says, thanks a lot. I really appreciate your being so forthright with me. But hey, look, can you just answer my questions? And what are the questions that the customer has in mind? He's read a negative comment somewhere about the model that he has shortlisted. He wants to toss that with you, but he's not going to tell you that the question is coming from there. Or he's read a positive comment about the other competing model which he has in mind. So from giving information, it has more become the sales consultant role has more become like a rebuttal or objection handling. So that's one. Second, now we come to the digital piece. Do we leave the customer to navigate on the online space whichever way he wants to do, or sit pretty and allow other marketeers to direct him where they want to direct him, where they drive him to consume what they want him to consume, whereas we are sitting on our own? I think those eras have ended, and digital sales and digital marketing has become now so crucial that leaving this job only to the OEM or somebody else is like allowing somebody else to write your destiny. I don't think any entrepreneur, any dealership would ever allow that. That's what makes them entrepreneurs in the first place. So this program, I think ASDC had the vision, because I do remember maybe a year back or maybe a little less than a year back, I got the first call, from ASDC and Vikrant ji that can we engage with your dealerships to make a program, which is real, which is practical, which meets the needs of all the customers. So I congratulate ASDC to, start much in advance. And now there can be no better timing. So what I want to say is that everybody knows digital is important. So the why is clear. The what is also clear. You need to engage with customers. You need to, start early in life when they are just at the consideration stage. And then when they made the first contact, again, a lot of those contacts are digital. Those are important elements. And I think much more important than that is that the dealership also has to now proactively engage and go into the zone of even creating the interest in the brand and the product. So this program, I think, does precisely that, where it sensitizes or educates the dealership people. And when I say dealership staff, I'm not talking about the 2 or 3 people who may be working on the digital sales. Of course, this program will add a lot of value to them. But I think every sales consultant, every person, sales manager, team leader who's engaged with customer in any way needs to understand what is this landscape, not at a very general or a generic level, but at the working level knowledge. That working level knowledge to know what's right, the do's and don'ts, what works, what doesn't work, the entire landscape. I think so this program does all that. And I think there could have not been a better timing to launch it. So that's it from me to start with.
Great, Rajiv ji. So the timing is of essence. And as Nikunj ji has been saying, I need to get this up and running as of yesterday. So yesterday we are trying. So Naveen ji, over to you. Your opening remarks on why do you think this program is needed at this time, as adding to what Rajiv ji just mentioned.
Right. Thank you, Deepshikha. And Rajiv ji captured the essence of the need of the hour very, very beautifully. And hence, I won't kind of repeat what he said, but there are a few areas that maybe I'll just add to what he mentioned. So first and foremost, while he detailed out, the customer journey, the experience, and a digitally literate customers walking into the showroom, and the ability and the competency which is required in the showroom to handle that customers' queries, questions, and everything else. But what is also very, very important in these COVID times and moving ahead is to draw parallels to physical actions on the ground to get those inquiries, whether you call them those melas, loan melas, and exchange melas, and multitude of actions which our teams used to do going out there in the market. While their relevance in future post-COVID times would be there, but I think there is a need to draw the parallels of those actions in the digital world. And some of those actions we have initiated in our organization in the form of hyperlocal. And I think if that's a part of the program that you've encapsulated, is going to be a brilliant thing. The second piece that I would like to talk about, and this is something that Mr. Nikunj Sanghi also touched upon, is this entire buying journey, of which, as per him, 28 steps, and there are 4 or 5 steps which is like not covered as yet and going to get covered soon. What is the digital play in each of these steps, and more importantly, who's the digital player who's occupying that? As the dealership, as the OEMs, do we see that there is a shift of power to those independent platforms who come in, while on some of the things they may be at a nascent state, but on some of the things they may be at a very, very mature level, and weaning away those powers which could be used to influence the customers in the way they want. And hence, it's very, very important for us to realize that and get our acts together and move forward. The third piece is about the talent that we need to have within our own dealerships to run the digital programs very, very effectively. While the details of the program that you mentioned, maybe in some of the four-wheeler dealerships, possibly we might have, but larger community of semi-urban, rural dealerships, are we going to get that kind of talent to deal with the digital world and something which is coming at such a rapid pace towards all of us? And hence, what's the solution, and how do we kind of bring in a balance there? And hence, I feel while there is a dealer play which is there, but I think collaborative efforts of dealerships as well as OEMs can really create a winning strategy and a winning journey in this space. Thank you.
Excellent point. I think you alluded to particularly the difference between the fabric of the two-wheeler and the four-wheeler customer, and then further segmentations, which would again be very, very critical, and then the rural and urban divide, which is kind of looking different post the reverse migration. This is where Sreedhar. Sreedhar, please, if we could hear from you on what you think were the OEMs, what OEMs were kind of alluding to. What is your opening remark, Sreedhar?
So I was listening to both Nikunj, Naveen, and Rajiv, and two key thoughts which came to my mind. One is we are overusing, across the world, we are overusing the word digital. But the main message which OEMs and dealers need to understand is that digital is not just e-commerce and digital intervention, right? Digital is a way, unfortunately, the whole ecosystem is constructed. So earlier, maybe it was OEMs and dealers and customers, and pretty much 90% of the work and life was revolving around these three people. But if you look at the way the customer is going to behave and the rest of the digitally strong ecosystem elements which can influence you. For example, companies which are non-banks, but knows your entire transaction history. I'm not taking names here for confidentiality, but people who know who can buy a car are unfortunately some other digital company sitting somewhere else. Now, your access to them at an OEM level and at a dealership level is extremely critical, because today the walk-in concept is a little rare. So how do you know who's the guy who's going to buy a car? That information unfortunately sits with somebody else. And I don't mean the Facebook and the Google. That is a given. It's an expensive proposition. But many other consumer profile content which has been created in the past 3 to 4 months sits with maybe startups, sits with maybe aftermarket companies, sits with maybe second-hand car companies, sits with digital platforms which are just exploratory for cars. So there are many characters who have suddenly gained prominence in the car buying ecosystem. Now, the critical element is still holding the forte because we are the sellers. We need to be in an alliance mode with these guys and not on a competing mode. That's a first point I want to raise here. The second one, see, I mean, there are various numbers which are thrown around in the country about what is the digital influence sales for anything. My personal view is, I mean, if you look at the e-commerce companies, the maximum amount, about 90-95% of the revenues are actually coming from 30 million Indians. These are people like you and I, all of us on the call. It's a very, very small number compared to the country. But the auto market is not that small. Auto market is far, far larger than the big contributors to e-commerce. So now the challenge is, how do I get a rural businessman who is not an e-commerce shopper, but he buys cars? How to get digital to help accelerate his car buying process or a scooter buying process? That, I believe, is the challenge which this team and the audience need to think through. These are not typical e-commerce customers, but they're rich, they buy automotive. Now they need to be digital. Now, who's going to invest in getting them digital? And how fast can you get them digital? I think that is the crux of the journey we need to talk about, is my suggestion. Over to you.
Okay, great. I think we are at this point we are solving one side of the equation, but the other side of the equation needs to be further resolved. As Mr. Sanghi was talking about, this is just a precursor. This is just the beginning, and we'll move into more detailed intervention. So this is the time when I bring in Vikrant. Vikrant, you've seen the skilling over years, pre-COVID, during COVID, hopefully post-COVID soon. What do you see this program making an impact with?
Thank you, Deepshikha. Thank you, Mr. Sanghi, and thank you to ASDC. So ASDC, we've been a very, very close partners since it was started. But specifically mentioning about the digital space, ASDC is the first sector skill council amongst 35 councils in the country to have launched 10 digital programs, making 10 digital programs 1 year back. So we went around the country for last 8 years telling SSCs, make digital programs, make. They didn't agree. Whatever money we earned over last 10 years, we spent in making digital programs. But ASDC was the first one who realized 1 year back, and they went on to create 10 programs. Just with the COVID lockdown, we launched the programs 2 months back. Like Sanghi shared 4 programs. Just before the program, I was talking to Mr. Prasad. I was telling him last 1 year, skilling 50,000 programs, less than 50,000 were done online. In 2 months, I think with ASDC, we've done close to 25,000 enrollments. Yeah. So that's how the space has suddenly exploded. See, I would want to talk about social media for enhancing productivity. And sir, I will take the liberty to talk in Hindi because somebody was requesting here. तो मैं notes को refer करूँगा क्योंकि मुझे हिंदी में बोलना थोड़ा सा challenging रहेगा.
Glad, विक्रांत, मैं खुश हूँ कि आप हिंदी में बोल रहे हैं because I'm sure हमारे काफी सारे audience ऐसे होंगे जो हिंदी में सुनना चाह रहे हैं. So please go ahead.
देखा था. देखिए, दुनिया ना बहुत रफ्तार से बदल रही है और भारत उससे भी ज्यादा रफ्तार से. पिछले हफ्ते एक बहुत सीनियर ऑटोमोटिव R&D के मेरे दोस्त हैं, उनसे मेरी बात हो रही थी. ये जब सारी चाइना की स्केयर आई तो मैंने इनसे पूछा कि इंडिया को कितना खतरा है चाइना के ना प्रोक्योर करने से. तो ही सेड इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स तो बहुत खतरे में है, ऑटोमोबाइल फेयरली सेफ है एक्सेप्ट लिथियम आयन बैटरीज. ठीक है, मैं आपको बताऊंगा क्यों ये शेयर कर रहा हूँ. मैंने थोड़ा सा गूगल करा and I realized China has 73% share in lithium ion batteries और US का 12% है बाकी दुनिया में बाकी लोगों का. ठीक है, पिछले 2 decades में China has gone around the world and bought all the mines. It owns 30 times mines than the US. Okay, but that was physical conquest. ये सारा का सारा फिजिकल कॉन्क्वेस्ट था. अब जो है ना, डिजिटल कॉन्क्वेस्ट होगा. एक सिंगल शॉट में इंडिया ने 59 एप्स बैन करी. क्या आप जानते हैं, सिर्फ टिकटॉक के 1500 मिलियन डाउनलोड्स में से 500 मिलियन इंडिया के थे. वो वैल्यू वाइप ऑफ हो गई. सो जस्ट इन 1 वीक 500,000 रेवेन्यू रोज टिकटॉक का होता था, वो गायब हो गया. ये स्ट्रेंथ है सोशल मीडिया स्पेस की. तो अब हम फिजिकल कॉन्क्वेस्ट से ना डिजिटल कॉन्क्वेस्ट में शिफ्ट कर जाएंगे. स्पेसिफिकली टॉकिंग अबाउट द ऑटोमोटिव इंडस्ट्री, सी राइट फ्रॉम OEMs to, I would even say, component manufacturers and dealers. Dealers most important because they face the consumer. Okay, social media will become extremely critical. A lot of you may say कि नहीं tier 2 tier 3 time में नहीं पहुंचेगा, towns में नहीं पहुंचेगा. You just wait and watch. Your profits, and this is not only about automotive industry, it's about everybody. Your profits will be directly proportional to your social media competence. There is no way getting out of this. Automotive में चाहे sales होगी, चाहे service होगी, चाहे value added services होगी, सब कुछ धीरे धीरे social media drive करेगा, चाहे ऐसे चाहे ऐसे. It will only, everything will be driven by media. As Mr. Sreedhar said, it's not only about social media, it's about digitization. एक बार digitization, जब IT infrastructures completely mature होते जाएंगे, मिस्टर सांगी, बहुत समय से मैं 3-4 सालों से उनसे सुन रहा हूं कि OEMs इन्वेंट्री बहुत रखवाते हैं. सर, ये टाइम खत्म हो गया. अब तो जो फोरकास्टिंग होगी ना सर, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग की फोरकास्टिंग सोशल मीडिया करेगा. आज जो मैं सर्च कर रहा हूं हैचबैक कार, अगर मैंने हैचबैक कार डाल दिया, वो इनपुट राजीव की मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में पहुंचेगा कि गाड़ी कौन सी बनाऊं. So no more of this that production will say I will create this, create. No. You will get some data which somebody from Sreedhar Prasad's database will offer कि next 6 months में consumer क्या सोचेगा artificial intelligence से, और आप वैसा मॉडल बनाओगे. अब आपकी इन्वेंट्री कम हो जाएगी सारी. तो अब फिजिकल और फाइनेंशियल स्ट्रेंथ हटकर ये सारी की सारी स्ट्रेंथ शिफ्ट हो जाएगी आपकी सोशल मीडिया कॉम्पिटेंस पे. ठीक, डीलर पे, क्योंकि डीलर फ्रंट एंड कर रहे हैं. डीलर की बात बता देता हूं. सबसे पहले डीलर को बड़ा सा सुंदर शोरूम चाहिए होता था, 4 फ्लोर्स का, बहुत सुंदर लगे, लोग आए, बात करें. इन्वेंट्री रखनी पड़ती थी हर तरह की वैरायटी. 100 गाड़ियां रखूंगा, 10 ऐसी, 10 ऐसी, इस रंग की, उस रंग की. ऑल दैट इज पास्ट. Dealers will no more have to. It's a good. All of those who are dealers, there's a good side. I think over next 2-3 years is very long. Next year, the inventories will really go down because everything will shift to social media, the forecasting, manufacturing, what people buy, everything. Then social media will also be very critical when you engage with your employees. See this, because there are people from OEMs here, from maybe components, dealers, lots of. See, on one hand, hiring of employees, searching of employees, training of employees, engaging of employees. और दूसरी तरफ उनकी डिसएंगेजमेंट. डीलरशिप में सर सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम क्या आ जाएगी, 30 आदमी बैठे हैं, 30 में से 20 तो अपने व्हाट्सएप पे खेल रहे हैं या सोशल मीडिया या यूट्यूब पे. So you will also have to look at how does social media impact your teams. That will be one very critical point. While social media has lots of positives, see, there are clearly negatives. So you will have to be very careful, not only, in fact, while we were structuring this masterclass courses and a course that we are developing on social media with ASDC, Mr. Sanghi said, WhatsApp की बात आई, मुझे याद आ रहा है. तो he said, WhatsApp use कैसे करना है ये नहीं, हमें सिखाना पड़ेगा WhatsApp use कैसे नहीं होना. ठीक है. So it is very critical that, because it can have a very negative impact on the consumers, what they buy, from where they service, etc. Or second, efficiency loss, employees' efficiency loss. So with this as the background, see, a structured course for social media is very, very critical. And I'll not say I'm happy because there was no choice. Mr. Sanghi would have done it. So I'll not say we are happy that, so he thinks much beyond all of us. He pushed us, I think it was about 3 weeks back, that the first time we had or 2 weeks back, the first time we had a call, and it was decided कि 2 weeks में course launch होगा. Okay. So we are starting with these master classes, but going forward, we are launching very, very specific structured programs. And I would say these are not knowledge programs. These are on how do you make a social media strategy for a small dealership with small little budgets. छोटे से पैसों से कैसे आप लोकल, आप रांची में हो, दरभंगा में हो, पटना में हो, मुजफ्फरनगर में हो, कैसे आप लोकल लोगों को सोशल मीडिया पे लाए, व्हाट्सएप पे लेकर लाए, उन्हें कैसे सर्च करें. जैसे राजीव ने बोला डिजिटल वॉक-इन्स, तो ये डिजिटल वॉक-इन्स कैसे ढूंढे, और नवीन ने बोला डिजिटल मार्केट्स, तो ये डिजिटल मार्केट कैसे क्रिएट करें. दैट इज व्हाट दिस कोर्स विल फाइनली टीच यू.
Great.
All this, last thing, all this for prices that you cannot imagine. See, the beauty about ASDC is all the courses we've launched. Like you will pay maybe something like a 999 rupee or something, and create so much value for each of your employee for social media. Okay, thank you, Deepshikha.
Thank you, Vikrant. So, in fact, that's the question that I will lead the open conversation with. That the pricing part is very, very pertinent, and I think Rajiv ji also mentioned in terms of improving the sentiments, and now and I can also see in the chat box itself. I mean, there are already questions coming up that we're not making money. We are bleeding blue. This is now another expense. So, Sreedhar, if you could come in on this one and guide us in terms of what do you think will be the ROI of making an investment like this? What do you think are the broad, if you can use any comparisons to show that what is the investment that is needed? Of course, Vikrant talked about the 999 or 499 or whatever the numbers could be. But in totality, what do you think will be the ROI that dealerships could look at? Do they have a choice to not make this investment?
So there is no choice, Deepshikha. It's a rapid transformation which we all are going through, right? And the investment question comes up in what are you going to invest? I am not thinking that the dealership is going to significantly invest in a digital platform. That's a medium-term thought. But at the moment, the critical investment is getting every front-end sales guy, whether it is sales, service pairs, whatever, be a digitally enabled or a digital sales guy. And that is it's not an investment, it is a change. It's like you graduate from 10th standard to 12th standard. There's no choice in that movement. And a funny parallel I'll do is, this is my critique about the auto sector. In a country where matrimony and marriage became digital 10 years ago with Bharat Matrimony, buying of a car is still thought about whether it is fully digital, partly digital. So imagine 2010 or 2012, people got married with Bharat Matrimony, they found the bride. The broker business never died. Brokers carried some printouts of Bharat Matrimony to rural India and saying this is a bride or a bridegroom. So the people will evolve. I mean, it is not that one is going to get killed and only the digital salesman will survive. Nothing like it. Everybody will survive. It's a matter of how fast you adopt the new way of selling. Now, we are talking about investment and cost. I would rather do in a lull period, get these guys up and running, and places like what we are talking about, the skills development centers, get them to understand and embrace digital. Number one. I think Vikrant mentioned what not to do on WhatsApp. Is WhatsApp selling is not WhatsApp chatting. Same way, reference to Facebook is not when you refer and forward a friendly video to another person. Business on social media and business on digital is really different, right? And that is what our front-end salesmen need to be trained. Number one. Number two, they need to be shameless. They need to be shameless in using content. So historically, we have used only the OEM content while selling. And today, the salesman will be pressurized to use content which is contextual to the buyer. For example, say, digital mothers, right? Is a new category which everybody's talking about. Digital mothers, employed women, digital, and their mothers. Now, what does a salesman know about that category? He needs to know about that category and what is their preference. Why is a digital mother preferring a particular scooter? That content is what is required today for selling. And this is not investments into some app. No, this is a mindset change or the L&D mindset change in the owners of these dealerships to get these guys equipped with the right contextual content, which is digital for the digital customer. That's my view on this. Deepshikha, you're on mute, I guess.
Sorry, yes. So, I mean, just a very quick leading question before I move to Rajiv ji and Naveen ji. and which is also I'm seeing in questions. I think Rajiv Balaji asked the question that, you know, when you say access to consumers, right? And you finding these consumers using that data. You gave multiple examples. Where do we find that data? I mean, Facebook, Google Ads, or WhatsApp is perhaps the only source that today we can reach, or a dealership can reach a particular customer. What are the other sources? And you talked about startups, but they are far and few, right? I mean, how do we go about finding those people?
So listen, so my take is you need to first understand channels before customers. So today, the strongest channels are, one is, the strongest channel is the Facebook group, the WhatsApp groups, which there is a strong positive propaganda happening across. I mean, all of us are on 20 Facebook groups or WhatsApp groups because of COVID, right? Now, today, the influencer power of these groups are very, very strong. Now, the dealerships need to understand where are these groups existing. And if you get one customer from the group as an existing customer, he can be your mouthpiece. You can't directly go into a WhatsApp group, number one. Number two, critical one, I'm just giving examples like say Cred. Cred is a startup. Now, Cred is upmarket. Maybe they know the data of all of us. So similar to that, since we're saying the world is changing, I'm personally hoping that the huge data which financial services companies have today is converted to insight and is shared to sectors like ours. Right? What Facebook knows is because of your digital behavior. What banks know is because of your financial behavior. But that data is a black hole in the world. Nobody gets to touch that data. We don't need that data. But the trends which emanate from the interactions with the financial services industry, I believe, is the primary input for the auto sector. It is not there today. I believe it will happen soon, because now a customer is being shared across by everybody. We are all concerned about cost of customer acquisition. I personally believe that this will slowly change. Let's take examples of, say, a gold loan company. It's an NBFC, or somebody else who's actually selling real estate loans, right? These are all strong customer point data which is created. Now, it's not shared across. Now, I personally believe a new funnel will open up where this kind of insight, and not data, this kind of insight will come into sectors like auto to help the digital walk-in, the phrase was used earlier, digital walk-in concept far more stronger.
Right. So I think that is where perhaps, you know, the maturity of OEMs would also come in very, very handy. I mean, in terms of consolidating an effort like this. So if I were to come to you, Rajiv, and also there is a leading question which I could see, and since we kind of come down time, I would take the question simultaneously. Chandra Reddy asks, I think all OEMs should have a digital vertical if they don't have it already. The OEMs need to set up the baseline for digital platform and have the dealer maintain or add to at a regional level. So the ball is back in your court.
Okay. So should I take it, Deepshikha?
Yes.
So today I think we are talking of a different thing. What we are talking about is the program for dealerships and the relevance. So I don't want to dwell too much on the question per se, but I will answer that each OEM, has been in an overdrive. Of course I can't give out the numbers, but 3 years back, what was the rupees million or rupees crores one was spending on digital? That is one. And the proportion of the total spend. I mean, there's no comparison on what's happened in the last 2-3 years. And if one is spending that money judiciously and one is accountable, so we already have, a bunch of mechanisms to check the ROI of that investment, right? Whether through a platform or some things are of course outsourced, but we have all the checks and balances. So that's part one. And I'd just like to talk about a little bit about the ROI piece, which you started out. So I'm just putting some numbers. So if you have a showroom or a dealership with 25, people in sales or direct sales and etc. So we are talking of an investment of 25,000 rupees, all right? So that's what, how many cars margin is that in a month, in 1 month, right? Maybe half a car. If you're able to retain a margin of full car, maybe one car. That's point number one. So I think we have to look at the investment in a perspective. What are we talking about? Point number one. Point number two is every dealership, every owner knows that he has to retain good people. And good people can't sit idle. How do you engage them when there are no walk-ins? When you can't go and do the event? When you can't go to somebody's house, look, I'm bringing the car. So how do you keep them engaged? Of course, they will be on WhatsApp and doing whatever they want to do. You can't stop it. So can we direct that energy into some positive side so that you have physical bodies in your dealership who are also mentally, emotionally, constructively engaged. I think this program comes in there. Now, how do you put an ROI to that? You can't, right? It's 10x, 100x, I don't know. And third and most important thing is that today, it might sound like a cliche, but digital today is far too important to be left to the specialist. You can't leave it to those 2-3 people who are running the digital, thing in the dealership, because they are their own specialist. So just as in any OEM or any good structure, you have that the sales and marketing should work hand in hand. Imagine if the person who understands the consumer the best, he understands everything about the consumer, his emotions, his eye movement, is he paying attention, not attention? He's saying, I'm going to come, but he's not going to show up that day. That guy, if we understand, I'm talking about the sales consultant on the floor, imagine equipping him with the entire theoretical knowledge, about the digital space, for lack of a better word. Imagine what kind of inputs he or she will be able to give to your in-house digital team or your outsourced digital team of the dealership. I mean, how do you put a number to that? It's unimaginable. Second, and I can tell you from examples that, we traditionally think that, ATL is OEM, BTL is dealership. I think the lines are totally diffused in the online space. The customer might first see a post by the dealership and come to the OEM website much later. It's a diffused, everything is diffused, and you can't sort of decide. So imagine if that sales consultant, that's what we call them in Honda, but the salesman or whatever you call it in other OEMs, imagine if he is equipped with this tool and he understands the pulse of the customer better. And if he gets, activated and does something on the social media, I can tell you he can also influence the top funnel, which is the brand and the model consideration. Maybe it may look like an excess, but there are instances when an innovative, smart person of the dealership posts a thing, a model or an event in such an attractive way that the consumer gets swayed. So I think trying to put an ROI to this is, sort of, sorry to say, but belittling it, because right in terms of economic value addition and in terms of engaging the people and the, multiplicity of things that the dealership can do, it's like empowering your people. You're empowering them with a tool, which is a necessity. So I think it's, the impact can be multifold and both short-term and long-term.
So great. I think the fact that we have two of the most prominent OEMs leaders sitting here in itself is an impetus by the OEM fraternity. And of course, as everything matures, there'll be more steps coming in. And I take that as an unsaid takeaway from your conversation, Rajiv. So coming to you, Naveen, there is a question that comes from Mazhar, and I think it's very relevant, particularly to you talked about the hyperlocal and the two-wheeler, the fabric of the two-wheeler customer. We want to digitize everything and also educating dealerships for digitization and using social media. I want to know, how will we bring the trust of people who want to buy a car? I believe people still do not have trust in buying small products because of frauds happening in the online market. This will get worse when it comes to a purchase of a vehicle, whether it is a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler. What do you think?
Right, Deepshikha. So I think rather than going into some critical answer, I would share the practical experience that we have had since the time we have launched our e-shop, which is online buying platform from MotoCorp. In fact, this is not because of COVID that hastened the process, but we had an online buying platform for spare parts and accessories, I think 3 years ago, HGP Mart, and the traction was little, but recently after the COVID, this entire process of getting the customer journey on digital platform smooth, frictionless. We bought a lot of industry first features in the platform, where an online digital documentation, finance and previews and a lot of things are there. Was surprised while there was an option which was available to the customer to experience and select products on HGP Mart also. We used to have close to 20 to 30,000 kind of customer visiting at that point of time, pre-COVID level. We've launched this platform early June, and it's not even complete June that we've had close to 180,000 customers coming out and visiting the platform, looking for it, and we have done some contactless deliveries also using this platform. So the core idea is, how do we kind of in this entire process, if there are frictions which are available, and particularly so on the documentation piece, which is still there, if we can eliminate that, the customer comes on board. As far as the one that we talked about earlier, you talked about the transparency and other factors wherein the customer can. Excuse me.
Great. I think, as we say, that digital and brick and mortar have to coexist because you don't know what get disrupted when. So let me come to Sreedhar now. Just a quick question, Sreedhar, to you. In terms of when we are building up this, when dealerships are building up an activity like this, what are the 2 to 3 critical profiles that you believe would be needed in terms of jobs and positions that would be needed? And as Rajiv said, there could be a cross or an upskill.
Okay, so my thought is, I don't know the exact terminology of profiles, but I'll tell you the dimensions. So one person need to visualize, how does my customer behave digitally? I earlier used the word digital mother, but say a senior citizen who's just crossed 60, but who can still buy a car, who may have not had, who may buy his next car, an Oberoi variant car. So that visualizing the profile of the customer and his digital existence is one critical expertise required. So a 61-year-old person who uses a smartphone, who is a pensioner, who's moderately rich, is financially well-to-do. How do I access that gentleman and his profile's existence in digital? Number one. Number two, there are still group buying concepts happening, right? Now, how do I align my digital sales process to the group buying concept? Number three, I think I heard somebody mention in the chat as well on the role of the financial institution, right? So revisualizing the role of the financial institution in the sale is a critical thing, because I think we had earlier loan mailers and a loan was a given. Now in the digital world, the profile of your team member who's sitting in the head office need to really think through, what is the financial instrument which my customer is going to use? Is it just a vehicle loan, which was earlier a standard one, or a vehicle loan from certain financial institutions which are purely digital? Vehicle loan, when you think, maybe all of us, our generation thinks it's a bank, right? Now today, the many of the loans are issued by people who are non-banks or who are digitally evolved companies. Now, internally aligning the dealership to these guys is different from the way we align to banks. The commission structures are different. So my personal view is, even though the execution is digital, the thought process need to be futuristic on how does my dealership align to this new ecosystem for footfalls, for conversions, and even the point I think Naveen touched upon, the role of the second-hand market in buying a first-hand vehicle. It's there. Many people exchange cars, right? In the digital world, how does that function? Earlier you used to buy the car, there was a broker agency, they used to get the car from you, you made a margin, you didn't make a margin. The digital world, how does that change? So internally, I would recommend, maybe at the senior most level of the dealership, have a think tank, at least for the next 2 to 3 months, to really think through the new existence of dealerships in this digital ecosystem. And then think through, forget the channels, forget for WhatsApp, forget Facebook for the time being. But the commercial and content relationships you will have from today till the foreseeable future, how do I realign myself? When I say content ecosystem, means there's a two-way transfer of content. Insurance, we used to buy, tell the insurance guy, I've got a customer, he's buying, I'm selling insurance for you. Now, will that change? And that thought process is what you need as 1 or 2, 3 profiles to support the owner of the dealership.
Fantastic. So yes, please, Naveen.
Yeah, I got dropped out. Sorry. So while I was on the eShop platform, I was also kind of what Sreedhar was just mentioning. This entire journey till for the entire ownership period of the vehicle. If at each of those points, whether it is finance, as Sreedhar was saying, or at the point of time when customer decides to kind of liquidate the vehicle, how do we bring the real essence of the practical world onto the digital platform will hold the key of customer coming and, going through this process and staying with it. Now, that's one piece of it where the OEM has a play. Now, while the time is short, there are a few critical action steps that I would say for the dealership fraternity as well to keep in mind. Directional more so. So if we really want to move into the digital world at the dealership level, first and foremost, think in mind, this is not going to be an organic process. There has to be considered effort that has to be kept around this space, right? So you have to have a programmed approach around this. It will not work out if you leave it to the people. You as the dealer principal have to own this space, and it has to be led by you or the business head. Third, it may not be a first time right kind of phenomena which we carry in our mind. There'll be a lot of spaces wherein you have to try and learn and evolve and then come to a certain level. And for another thing, which is ROI, which is being talked about, I think it has to be budgeted like a startup. You might succeed in one, which is going to kind of give you the returns, which will cover all your costs. And hence, that has to be kept in mind. So those are the few thoughts that I have. While there's a collaborative effort that will work like within OEM and the dealership, there is a role that the OEMs have to play, that the mindset change the dealerships also have to bring in to make it a successful journey.
Fantastic. So I think in totality, I mean, of course, we've kind of run out of time, and this is a conversation that you can extend and talk more and more, especially with such a diverse set of experts. But at this time, I think the two messages which are coming out very clearly. One is the reskilling part. The need has been established, as all of you have already alluded to it. Reskilling, upskilling of your existing employees, retaining employees, and then building a robust organization which will coexist with the brick and mortar model. Mr. Sanghi, I would like to invite you back in to kind of share with us your closing remarks and set the stage for the launch on the 14th.
So Vikrant की बात को आगे बढ़ाते मैं I think I'll speak in Hindi for the larger audience. The discussion on digital is extremely insightful and a lot of thoughts are coming in. पर मेरे ख्याल से जो purpose था आज की इस webinar का, वो focus था on reskilling and upskilling of employees of the dealership. और ये क्यों जरूरी है कि हम अपने employees को इतना digitally enable करें कि वो जो present the future which is coming in on retailing, वो employees they become relevant to that environment and they start contributing to that environment. So I would like to bring back everybody to that platform. There are a lot of questions which have come in the Q&A and also in the chat box, but some of those questions probably we will answer offline because they are not related to the subject of this webinar. The subject of this webinar is कि ये बहुत critical है कि dealerships अपने employees को digitally enable करें, उन्हें digitally strengthen करें और उनको वो सारे tools दें ताकि आज का जो environment, digital environment develop हो रहा है, उसमें वो relevant रहें और dealership की growth को, brand की growth को, sales की growth को contribute कर सकें बिना physically बाहर move out करते हुए. और जैसा कि विक्रांत ने कहा, राजीव ने भी कहा और नवीन ने भी कहा कि ये बहुत जरूरी है कि खाली एक 2-3 लोगों की डिजिटल टीम ये नहीं करने वाली है. हमारा हर एम्प्लॉई विल नीड टू बी कॉन्शियस दैट ही कैन कंट्रीब्यूट टू दिस एंटायर एनवायरनमेंट. ये भी हमको समझना होगा कि जब सब कुछ डिजिटल हो जाता है तो बहुत सारी चीजें हमारे कंट्रोल के बाहर हो जाती हैं और जब कंट्रोल के बाहर हो जाती हैं तो वो पॉजिटिव नेगेटिव सब कुछ हो सकता है. तो कैसे हमारे एम्प्लॉइज उस एनवायरनमेंट को कंट्रोल करें to generate positivity about the brands, to generate positivity about the brand of the dealership itself, and वो जो trust और faith की बात आ रही है, कैसे उस trust और faith को हम कायम रखें अपने customers में ताकि वो brand के साथ साथ हमारी dealership को सबसे पहले चुने और हमारी dealership में वापस आए और हम उस customer की सारी आकांक्षाएं, सारी अपेक्षाओं को पूरा कर सकें. I think that is the intent of this entire course. हमने बहुत सारा एफर्ट लगाया है इस कोर्स को डेवलप करने में. दीपशिखा के साथ स्पीक इन प्लेटफॉर्म पे वी आर कॉलिंग इट अ मास्टर क्लास. और जैसा मैंने बताया, हम विक्रांत के साथ भी काम कर रहे हैं ऑन डेवलपिंग अनदर कोर्स विच विल बी लॉन्च्ड after we have finished this master class courses, to go in further detail in enabling employees and strengthening them to become more relevant to the new environment. और जैसा कि दीपशिखा ने कहा था, हमारे कॉस्ट इतने ज्यादा कम होंगे कि आप उसको इमेजिन भी नहीं कर सकते. अभी तक ASDC ने जो कोर्सेज ड्यूरिंग कोविड किए थे, फॉर द रीजंस की डीलरशिप्स का 0 रेवेन्यू था, हम लोगों ने वो फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट किए थे. 1 जुलाई से वो कोर्सेज पेड हो गए हैं. बट अब भी जो हम कोर्सेज करने वाले हैं, दे आर गोइंग टू बी एक्सट्रीमली सब्सिडाइज्ड. ASDC की तरफ से वो सब्सिडाइज्ड होंगे और डीलरशिप्स को वो कॉस्ट पिंच नहीं करेगी. और अगर उसके आप ROI की बात कर रहे हैं, तो राजीव बात कर रहे थे कि एक गाड़ी का डीलरशिप मार्जिन अगर हम रिटेन कर लें तो पूरा इन्वेस्टमेंट निकल जाएगा. तो अगर एक 2 व्हीलर का हम मार्जिन रिटेन कर लें तो हमारे 10 एम्प्लॉइज डिजिटली लिटरेट हो जाएंगे. इतने कम हम फीस रखने वाले हैं, इतना कम हम कोर्स फी. और क्योंकि मैं खुद डीलर हूं और डीलर का पेन समझता हूं, मैं पूरी कोशिश करूंगा कि ये कोर्सेज डीलरशिप्स की पॉकेट को सूट करें, बहुत एक्सपेंसिव नहीं रहे. I think that's about all, and I think Deepshikha, you can now ask for a closing comment for each of the panelists.
Great. So a very quick closing from each of you. Just before that, while you think through to close, there are a lot of questions coming in about the contours of the program in terms of how do you sign up, whether the independent dealerships can enroll, whether it can be customized, etc., etc. What we'll do is, in the interest of time, we'll compile all those questions. We'll write the answers down. We'll send it back to you, including the slides that you saw a little earlier. And whatever emails that you've registered with to join this webinar, all of you will receive that information within the next 48 hours. Yes.
दीपशिखा, हमारा ये वाला वेबिनार YouTube पे अवेलेबल होगा, लोग बाग इसको देख सकेंगे YouTube पे?
Yes, it went live.
Okay.
So, Sreedhar, let me start with you to kind of set the closing tone. Sreedhar, may I? Yes, I would like to invite.
Okay, sorry, I didn't hear that. Yes. Sure. So, I saw one of the questions which was asked, and I'll summarize basis that. So they were asking, is the new world going to be cloud dealerships and platforms which will enable selling? I think we are moving towards that. It's a reality. The auto industry was a touch and feel industry, with all of us investing significantly on dealership money, X square feet for Y sales. I think those matrices are going to really get convoluted with the new world. So I think the questions have always been on investments in digital, but I personally believe it's a mindset change. Investment is just an outcome. The fundamental thing is a mindset change, and we need to embrace, because let's agree, the people on this webinar at the moment are the most knowledgeable about the auto sector in the country. No one else can beat you on the knowledge. It's only the speed at which you adopt digital and then become the digital pioneer in selling auto. I'm not an auto sector expert. Tomorrow I have to learn auto sector and start up a digital cloud dealership. I may fail because I don't understand the business of auto. But you guys know the business of auto more than anybody else. That context, you know the numbers, you know what is required for each customer. From that context, if we can actually just rewire our thinking that the common way of selling, the common way of servicing is going to change. But the core remains the same. The customer needs a car to drive or a bike to drive. The need also is the same. I need for commute, I need for status, I need for XYZ. It's only the intermediary which was the human being physically communicating, doing, negotiating, and convincing. That is changing. And you have to accept that reality and just move on. It doesn't mean that the human being is going to get extinct in this transaction. No. The human being will drive it, just as the digital is enabler. Thank you.
The human beings will still drive the digital transformation. Vikrantji, you gave us a fantastic preview on the skilling side. What are your closing remarks? What can we look forward to?
3 things. First is what Sreedhar said about enabler. See, in 2020, I started a small restaurant, and it was called harichutney.com. Okay, so we distributed pamphlets with .com. When you would go to harichutney.com, it would say, Sirji, this is not a website. That's all. It didn't say anything else, just that thing. Because the business was food, it was not .com. Okay, so I think what Sreedhar said, that we have to understand we are in the business of auto manufacturing and sales. How do we leverage social media for our profits is most critical. I think that is one point. Second, Deepshikha, I would want to touch on the ROI bit. I just wrote some numbers. Since there are lots of dealers here currently, I would want to say, एक छोटा सा program. See, I'm throwing certain numbers because we are very well versed in this space, what kind of numbers work, don't work. सिर्फ 999 रुपी, 1000 रुपी का हर ओनर को करना चाहिए. Every owner and a general manager of a dealership, simply to change his mindset. That's the masterclass. You know, to understand how does social media impact you. Second, make a core team. If you have 25 people in your team, including your sales, service, telecallers, out of that have 2, 3, 4 people, get them again to do only a 1000 rupee program. And all 25 people, get them to do a small 299 rupee program, which gives you a flavor of what social media. The total investment here comes to be only 10,500 rupees. So like Mr. Sanghi already shared, it's like a margin of a scooter or 1/4 of a car or whatever. From the OEM side, so this was from a small dealership size. From an OEM side, you know, investing 999 rupee into even 2,000 people of your showrooms. So in 1,000 showrooms, get 2 people trained as per your requirements at 999 rupee. You know, just investing that 20 lakh, you will have 2,000 employees working for you. That's how you have to see the ROI. How you can train dealers people, but work for you and your social media benefit. And last thing was that social media, you know, it's not only about media and Twitter and all this, it's also about digital spaces. You know, while I was talking, I realized now we become so comfortable. Sorry, हम सबको इतना comfortable हो गए हम screen पे कि अब तो हम एक बड़ी screen पे गाड़ी दिखा सकते हैं, उसकी feature explain कर सकते हैं. जब आदमी को वो समझ आ जाए, तब वो बोलेगा हाँ, मेरे घर किसी को टेस्ट ड्राइव के लिए भिजवा दो, टेस्ट ड्राइव हो जाए और सेल हो जाए. It will not only be the platforms, but it will also be how you can sell digitally. Okay.
That's an excellent pitch for the program, and a perfect prelude to Rajiv coming to you for a closing remark on this.
Okay, so I'll just give an example that there's a customer who's been chased by a sales consultant, a lady sales consultant at one of our dealerships. Sir, aap kab aayenge? Kab aayenge? Aunga, tab aunga, kal aunga. Okay, sir, can I do a WhatsApp call with you? Now, this is a real example. No, I'm not interested in WhatsApp call. I will come to you. But sir, gaadi to dekhni hai. Haan, dekhni hai, but I will. So that person kept delaying. So what did this consultant do? She shot a video of every element of the car from every angle, inside, outside. And she knew what the person is looking for, what color he's looking for. She makes a customized video and sends that video to the customer. Sir, aap gaadi dekhna chahte the, aap aa nahi pa rahe the, here's what it is. Now imagine the impact on the customer. So 2 points I want to make. A, if you as a consultant, and I'm also touching on the element of trust, if a customer sees you doing what is normally not part of your job description or not expected from you, the customer also has some gratitude. Okay. And that is the first starting point of trust, right? Yaar, isne mere liye itna abhi kiya. And of course, he finally bought the car. Point number 1. Point number 2 is, without having any tool, only knowing कि video कैसे shoot होता है phone पे और WhatsApp कैसे होता है. If that sales consultant could do so much, then I only want to say, let's not underestimate the power, potential, and the energy of people. Bet on people. Bet on people. You don't even know what they will be able to do if they are given these tools. And this was just an example to illustrate that. I think, you know, with these tools, I mean, I can't even begin to imagine what's possible. So that's what I would like to say at the end.
Over to you for your closing comments.
Deepshikha. So while Rajiv talked about the employees, let me also share the example from the consumer side. So when the lockdown started, we thought to keep our teams in the dealerships busy with trainings and other things. At the same time, we're also looking at how do we touch base with the customer, both for maybe the intenders, the buyers, as well as help them connect with them to keep their vehicles safe during the lockdown period. We were quite apprehensive whether the customers would come on the digital calls or especially the entry commuter segment. When we did a pilot in Noida, we invited 5,000 customers on a Zoom platform, particularly Splendor customers and entry commuter HF. To our surprise, we had close to 100 customers coming on board, chatting with us, asking us questions, and then we took forward to the whole of country. Then we connected with technicians, close to 10,000 technicians we've connected on the digital platforms in terms of understanding their need on trainings and other pieces. So a lot of taboos will be broken in this journey. A lot of thought processes, mindset, preconceived notions will be broken in this journey when we move ahead to kind of explore this space. And one thing to the dealership friends that I would like to say, as Mr. Sanghi was also saying, that everyone in the value chain, whether the dealerships, owners, or the OEMs, they had realized, but this entire COVID has fast-paced this thought in their mind that we'll have to kind of quicken this journey on the digital world. And hence, it's not just about the sales side of it. It's going to be on your inventory management to maintain your FIFO. It's going to be on post-service. It's going to be on spare parts. It's going to be on all aspects of business to make the business much more efficient than what it is currently. And hence, are you ready for it? Are you prepared for it? We normally look at IQ and EQ part of people. It's time that we should also look at digital quotient of people when we induct and we have, and how do we enhance the digital quotient of the teams that we have at our dealerships. It's very, very critical at this point of time for us to ensure that we have that. And I'm sure ASDC is going to play a critical role in enhancing that piece of it. Thank you very much.
Great. So that's where we come to the end of the conversation. I think we've taken more than the warranted time, but how important and how relevant this topic is to the current times. I think that will be established more and more as we go along. Just to close the conversation, as I said earlier as well, we'll be sharing the details of the SpeakIn ASDC Digital Sales Masterclass with you shortly. The commercials of the program, as Mr. Sanghi mentioned, are highly subsidized, and I think we are looking at 499 rupees per person for the entire 10 session module. Within that, you will be exposed to the experts from different technical aspects of digital and online marketing. Alongside that, you would also hear industry practitioners come and be a part of the of every alternate session and give their views on how they've enacted the same within their dealership businesses. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much, audiences. I know there are a lot of unanswered questions, but we will take them as we come back. Thank you, Rajiv ji. Thank you, Sreedhar. Thank you, Vikrant ji. Thank you, Naveen ji. And thank you, Mr. Sanghi, for putting this entire...
Thank you, Deepshikha. And before we close, let me tell you that जैसा कहा गया, मैं खुद इस कोर्स को अटेंड करने वाला हूँ, इस मास्टर क्लास को अटेंड करने वाला हूँ एज अ डीलर ओनर. मैं खुद I'll be participating in this because अगर मुझे नहीं मालूम मुझे मेरे टीम को क्या सिखाया जा रहा है तो मैं खुद कैसे सीखूंगा. तो I hope all dealer owners will do that and will become a part of the masterclass and all the future courses that ASDC is going to promote to strengthen the hands of the dealerships at the minimum cost possible. Thank you so much for being there, all my panelists, and thank you, Deepshikha, for bringing us together.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure as ours. Thank you.